The House of Knowles is in full damage control right now, and it is not working. Beyonce's 21-year-old nephew Julez is out here kissing a 41-year-old reality star older than his own mama, while Mama Tina's Gumbo had somebody literally throwing up blood at the Houston Rodeo. The health department got involved, the receipts are disgusting, and people online are saying all of this, every last bit of it, is connected. Buckle up. Everybody thought the Knowles family was untouchable. Beyonce's a billionaire, Jay-Z's a billionaire, Mama Tina is America's cool grandmother cooking gumbo and designer kitchenware, Solange is the artsy one doing her thing, and Julez was the golden grandson, the model, the one walking runways in Paris for Blue Marble Men's Spring 2026 ready-to-wear, the one Miss Tina allegedly adores more than life itself. That was the version the internet was comfortable with. But in the span of one single week, two stories collided that have people saying the Knowles PR machine is working overtime. One involves frozen gumbo, orange buckets from what people online are comparing to Home Depot containers, and a woman who ended up violently ill. The other involves leaked Snapchat videos, piggyback rides at midnight, and a reality TV star calling Beyonce's nephew "my baby." And now, the narrative is twisting into something nobody saw coming. Let me break this down piece by piece because the evidence is a lot. First, the Julez and Tommie Lee situation. For those who don't know, Daniel Julez J. Smith Jr. is 21 years old. He is the only child of Solange Knowles and her ex-husband, Daniel Smith. He's Beyonce's nephew, Miss Tina's grandson. The kid grew up around billionaires, Grammy winners, and Super Bowl performers. He is Knowles royalty. Tommie Lee is 41. Let that sit. Tommie Lee is a Love and Hip Hop Atlanta veteran. She joined the cast back in 2016. On the show, she openly admitted she'd been arrested nearly 30 times. She talked about giving birth while in jail after having an emergency C-section because there was no fluid around the baby. She begged for medical attention, and they threatened to lock her down if she pressed the button again. That's the woman who is now on Snapchat, filming herself pretending to be asleep next to Solange's son, calling him "my baby." The videos surfaced Monday, March 23rd, and the internet has not been the same since. In the first clip, and this is the one that set it all off, Julez is on Tommie's back, piggyback ride, late at night. She's filming a selfie video on Snapchat while he's carrying her, and they're laughing. She says something to the effect of, "This the type of stuff you do when you like somebody," and then she calls him "my baby." Julez, while carrying a whole grown woman on his back, says it's hard to be fine, basically joking that being attractive doesn't help when you got somebody literally on top of you, and she hits back with "still fine." The flirting is brazen. Then there's a second clip from the same night. She's holding onto his arm, they're walking out of somewhere, and she references their crazy weekend. A weekend, not a night, a weekend, meaning this wasn't some random bump-in at a club. These two were together for days, and it gets even crazier. A third set of footage shows them inside a venue, allegedly watching a female contortionist perform. A male voice, and people online are saying it's clearly Julez, says, "You can do that?" And Tommie writes over the Snapchat video, "Sure can, and better." Now listen, I'm not here to judge two consenting adults. If it's legal and consensual, live your life. But let's keep it real for a second. Julez is 21. Solange is 39. Tommie Lee is 41. Tommie Lee is 2 years older than Julez's own mother. That part has the internet absolutely spinning. People magazine picked it up. Hot 97 ran it. TMZ got involved. Reddit threads with thousands of comments popped up overnight. The age gap discourse alone could fuel a month of content. But here's what got folks really raising their eyebrows: the timing. Because while everybody was zooming in on Julez and Tommie's Snapchat stories, something way more serious was unfolding in Houston, and some folks online believe that's exactly the point. Now let's get into the real story, the one that allegedly needed a distraction, the one that involves the Houston Health Department, a woman throwing up blood, frozen shrimp that wasn't frozen anymore, and gumbo being stored in what inspectors described as non-food grade containers. Mama Tina's Gumbo. For context, Tina Knowles set up a pop-up booth at the Houston Livestock and Rodeo. This is a massive event, one of the biggest in Texas. Millions of people attend over the course of weeks, and Mama Tina, Beyonce's mother, the woman America trusts to season everything just right, was selling her signature gumbo at $25 a bowl. $25 a bowl. At that price, you expect perfection. You expect food-grade containers. You expect temperature logs. You expect licensed facilities. You expect professionalism from top to bottom. What people got instead was a health department nightmare. On Monday, March 16, 2026, the Houston Health Department received a complaint. A customer reported that after eating the gumbo, she began vomiting, experiencing chills, running a fever, dealing with nausea, and then she reported she was throwing up blood. Let that sink in. Throwing up blood after a $25 bowl of celebrity gumbo at the Houston Rodeo. Inspectors moved fast. They showed up to the pop-up, and what they found was damning. According to health department records obtained by KPRC2 News, and this is all documented, all public record, here is what was going on behind the scenes of Mama Tina's gumbo. The gumbo was being prepared at an off-site location, not at the rodeo, somewhere else. They would cook it, cool it down, and then, and this is the part that got people online losing their minds, they would stuff it into non-food grade orange buckets. Orange buckets. Not food-safe containers, not restaurant-grade Cambros. Orange buckets. The kind of containers people online are comparing to what you'd buy at a hardware store to store clothes or cleaning supplies. The kind where when you put hot or cold food inside them, the chemical compounds from the plastic can leach directly into what people are about to eat. That is not speculation. That is basic food science. Non-food grade plastics release toxins under temperature changes. Period. But it doesn't stop there. After they packed the gumbo into these buckets, they transported it to a freezer at an unlicensed off-site location. Unlicensed, meaning nobody from the health department had ever checked this place. Nobody verified there were no mice, no feces, no bugs, no lead, no contamination of any kind. It could have been a garage, a storage unit, somebody's back porch. We literally do not know, because it was unlicensed. From there, the frozen gumbo got moved again to a refrigerated trailer at the rodeo, where it sat thawing before being served to paying customers. And here's the kicker. There were 0 temperature logs, no documentation showing proper cooling temperatures, no documentation showing how long the food was stored, no date markings for food prepared more than 24 hours in advance, and inspectors found bags of frozen shrimp and crab that were labeled "Keep Frozen" that were no longer frozen. 6 violations. 6. Let me list them because people need to hear this. 1. Food stored in non-food grade containers that may contaminate food. 2. Food stored at an unpermitted facility, then transported from that unapproved source. 3. The food source used after the first day of the rodeo was not listed on the approved permit application. Basically, they told the health department they were getting food from one place, got approved, and then switched to somewhere completely different. The old bait and switch. 4. No documentation of proper cooling temperatures and times. 5. No date markings for food prepared more than 24 hours prior. 6. Frozen food not kept frozen. That is catastrophic, and all of it was happening under the Knowles name, at $25 a bowl at the Houston Rodeo. But here's the part that really hits different, because behind all the headlines and the celebrity drama and the internet memes, there's a real person who got hurt. A woman went to the Houston Rodeo. She probably saved up. She probably was excited. She probably saw Mama Tina's gumbo and thought, this is Beyonce's mama. This has to be amazing. This has to be the best gumbo she's ever tasted. She paid her $25, she ate her bowl, and hours later she was throwing up blood. Throwing up blood. That's not a stomach ache. That's not, oh, the gumbo didn't sit right. That is a medical emergency. Vomiting blood means something has gone seriously, dangerously wrong inside your body. Chills, fever, nausea, and then blood. From gumbo at a rodeo in 2026 under a billionaire family's name. And think about this. That's the one person who reported it. How many other people ate that same gumbo? How many people got sick and just chalked it up to eating too much at the rodeo? How many people had stomach issues that night and never connected it back to the gumbo because they ate multiple things? If one woman was able to pinpoint it because the gumbo was the only thing she ate, how many others suffered in silence? We don't know. The Houston Health Department reportedly has not confirmed whether additional complaints were filed. But the reality is, when food is being stored improperly, transported through unlicensed facilities, and served without any temperature documentation, the odds of just one person getting sick are slim. That's not how food contamination works. When the chain of safety is broken at that many points, non-food grade containers, unlicensed storage, thawed seafood that should have been frozen, the contamination risk multiplies exponentially. And here is what makes people online the angriest. This is Tina Knowles. This is Beyonce's mother. This is the matriarch of a family worth billions. They can afford the best chefs, the best equipment, the best food safety consultants in the state of Texas. They could have had a fleet of licensed freezer trucks. They could have had on-site health compliance officers monitoring every single batch. There is no excuse for orange buckets and unlicensed garages when you are charging premium prices under a premium name. Now, let me be clear. People online are saying, and I tend to agree, Mama Tina was probably not the one personally packing gumbo into plastic buckets at 2 a.m. She gave them the recipe, she lent her name, she hired people to execute, and those people, allegedly, failed spectacularly. But at the end of the day, your name is on the sign, your face is on the brand. When a customer is throwing up blood, that falls on you. That's how business works. The buck stops at the name on the booth. And this is where the conspiracy theory kicks in, because the internet never sleeps, and the internet noticed something very specific about the timing of all this. The Mama Tina Gumbo story broke wide open the same week that Julez and Tommie Lee suddenly became the most visible couple on Snapchat. Think about it. For weeks, Julez was relatively quiet. Yes, there was some noise about him doing club appearances. Yes, there were rumors swirling about his personal life, specifically people online trying to speculate about his sexuality after he did appearances at LGBTQ venues. Julez actually addressed this on a live stream, saying grown adults were calling him gay when he was just 13 years old because of a photo his mom posted where he was dressed as LL Cool J. He had a girlfriend at the time, he was a kid, and strangers on the internet were making judgments about a child. So there was already some low-level chatter around Julez, but nothing explosive, nothing that would dominate a news cycle. Then, the Gumbo scandal hits. The health department shuts down Mama Tina's booth on March 16th. The story starts getting traction. Local news picks it up. KPRC2 does a deep dive. The details start leaking. The buckets, the unlicensed facility, the woman vomiting blood. And suddenly, the narrative is getting dangerous for the Knowles brand. Because this isn't just celebrity gossip, this is a public health issue. This involves real violations, real documentation, a real victim. And then, like clockwork, the very next week, Tommie Lee is on Snapchat with Julez Smith. Videos everywhere, piggyback rides, my baby, kissing photos, a whole curated weekend of content designed to flood social media. Coincidence? People online don't think so. Now look, I want to be fair. Is it possible that Julez and Tommie genuinely enjoy each other's company? Absolutely. He's 21. He's a good-looking young man who walks runways in Paris. Tommie is 41, but she's gorgeous. She's got a beautiful body. She's fun. She's wild. She's reality TV gold. If these two single adults want to hang out, that's their business. But the way it was rolled out, the Snapchat stories that looked almost produced, Tommie filming herself pretending to be asleep next to him, the perfectly timed clips dropping right as the Gumbo story was reaching critical mass. It has all the hallmarks of a PR play. And this isn't exactly a new move for celebrity families. When a negative story is gaining momentum, you flood the zone with a shinier, louder, more scandalous story. You give the blog something juicier to talk about. You redirect attention. You turn health department violations and a woman vomiting blood into, OMG, Beyonce's nephew is dating a woman older than his mom. One story is a legal and public health liability. The other is entertainment. You can control the entertainment narrative. You cannot control health department records. And let's talk about Tommie Lee for a second, because she is perfect for this role if you're casting a distraction. She's messy, she's loud, she's a Gemini if you're into that astrology angle. She's been on Love and Hip Hop, she's been on Baddies, she's been arrested nearly 30 times by her own admission. She is a walking headline generator. If you need someone who will organically create social media chaos just by existing in proximity to a Knowles family member, Tommie Lee is your girl. People are saying, and I'm just reporting what the internet is saying, that this relationship, real or staged, was weaponized as a distraction at the exact moment the Knowles family needed one most. And the thing is, it almost worked. Almost. Because for about 48 hours, every blog, every tea channel, every gossip page was running the Julez and Tommie story. It was everywhere. People were debating the age gap. People were tagging Solange. People were asking what Beyonce thinks. The memes were flying. Then KPRC2 dropped the deep dive on the health violations. Then TMZ ran their piece. Then the details about the orange buckets and the unlicensed facility hit the timeline. And suddenly, the Gumbo story came roaring back louder than ever. The distraction didn't hold. Now, let me circle back and add some layers to this, because the more you look, the wilder it gets. Let's talk about the food safety angle for a second, because some people online don't fully understand why storing food in non-food grade containers is such a massive deal, and I think it's worth breaking down. When you see the label food grade or food safe on a container, that means the plastic has been tested and certified to not release harmful chemicals when it comes into contact with food, whether the food is hot, cold, acidic, or anything in between. Regular plastic containers, the ones you'd use to store clothes or tools or holiday decorations, are made with different chemical compounds. They are not designed to touch food. When you put hot gumbo into a non-food grade bucket, the heat causes those chemicals to leach directly into what you're eating. We're talking about potential exposure to things like BPA, phthalates, and other compounds that have been linked to serious health issues. It's the same reason people online freak out when they see TikTok videos of people frying chicken in those giant aluminum foil pans. Those pans are designed to hold food at moderate temperatures, not to be used as deep fryers. When you heat them to oil frying temperatures, the aluminum breaks down and leaches into the food at an accelerated rate. Aluminum poisoning is real, and it's the same principle here with the containers at Mama Tina's. And then there's the unlicensed facility situation. When a food establishment gets a permit, they have to disclose where their food is being prepared, stored, and transported from. The health department inspects those locations to make sure they're free from contamination: rodents, insects, mold, lead, bacteria. When you move food to an unlicensed location, you are removing it from the chain of accountability. Nobody knows what's in that environment. Nobody has verified it's safe. It could be immaculate, it could be infested. The point is, nobody checked, and that's a violation for a reason. People also need to understand the bait-and-switch element. According to the records, the food source used after the first day of the rodeo was not the same one listed on the approved permit application. Meaning on day one, they told the health department, "Here's where our food comes from." The health department said, "Okay, you're approved." And then starting day two, they switched to a completely different source without telling anyone, without getting approval. That is textbook deception in the food service world. Whether it was intentional or just negligent management, it's a massive red flag. And let's not forget, the rodeo ran for multiple days. This wasn't a one-bowl situation. Thousands of people potentially ate gumbo that went through this compromised supply chain. The one woman who reported vomiting blood may be the tip of an iceberg we haven't even seen yet. Meanwhile, Tommie Lee is out here posting Snapchat stories like she's on vacation with her new boo. The timing is just chef's kiss, pun intended. And here's another wrinkle that people online are chewing on. Julez recently did a live stream where he talked about misconceptions. He talked about how strangers have been making assumptions about his life since he was a kid. He talked about being called gay at 13. He talked about the pressure of growing up in the public eye with a family as famous as the Knowles. Some fans are now looking at that live stream and wondering, was that also part of a larger strategy? Was Julez being positioned to reclaim his public narrative, and the Tommie Lee situation is the exclamation point? You thought I was this? Nah, look at me now with this woman. Whether that's authentic self-expression or calculated PR, the internet is split right down the middle. And honestly, this whole saga raises some much bigger questions that go way beyond one Gumbo booth and one Snapchat story. What we're seeing here is what happens when a celebrity brand collides with real-world accountability. The Knowles family has built an empire on image, on excellence, on black excellence specifically. Beyonce doesn't make mistakes in public. Every album rollout is flawless. Every performance is perfection. The brand is bulletproof, or at least it was supposed to be. But a health department report doesn't care that your brand is bulletproof. A woman vomiting blood doesn't care that your daughter is a billionaire. Food safety violations are not impressed by your Grammy collection. And that is what makes this situation so uniquely damaging. Because the Knowles family has spent decades curating an image of being the best at everything they do. And now the public record shows that a venture carrying the family name couldn't even keep shrimp frozen. The bigger conversation is about accountability. When you are wealthy enough to do things the right way, and there is absolutely zero financial reason to cut corners, and corners still get cut, people want to know why. Who made these decisions? Who approved the non-food grade buckets? Who decided to switch food sources without updating the permit? These are questions that the Knowles family will have to answer, if not to the public, then at least to themselves. And the distraction angle? Even if the Julez and Tommie situation is completely organic and has nothing to do with PR strategy, the fact that people immediately assumed it was a deflection tactic tells you something about the way the public views celebrity families in 2026. We've been trained to see the matrix. We've watched PR machines operate in real time for years. We know what a manufactured narrative looks like. And when something this perfectly timed drops right in the middle of a crisis, people are going to call it out. That doesn't mean Julez and Tommie aren't genuinely vibing. They might be. Good for them. But the perception, the optics, the timing, it all feeds into a narrative that the internet has already written in permanent marker. And for any celebrity with a food venture or a brand extension or a product with their name on it, this is a cautionary tale. You can hire people to run your operation, but you cannot outsource your reputation. When your name is on it, everything that goes wrong is your problem. Every shortcut your staff takes is a shortcut you took. Every orange bucket is your orange bucket. The Knowles family will recover from this. They always do. They have the resources, the PR infrastructure, and the cultural capital to weather any storm. But the internet has screenshots. The internet has health department records. The internet has Tommie Lee's Snapchat. And the internet does not forget. So where does this all go from here? Let me give you the scenarios people online are running with. Scenario 1, the optimistic version. Mama Tina's Gumbo cleans up its act. The health department confirmed that after the shutdown, the operators cooperated fully. They switched to a freezer trailer. They started making Gumbo on-site daily. They agreed to stop using the off-site facility. If they maintain compliance, this becomes a blip, a remember when story that gets brought up occasionally but doesn't leave lasting damage. Scenario 2, the messy version. More people come forward saying they got sick. Maybe someone files a lawsuit. Maybe the health department reveals additional complaints they haven't made public yet. If that happens, this goes from a food safety issue to a legal liability. And when you're talking about the Knowles family's net worth, those lawsuits could be significant. Scenario 3, and this is the one the conspiracy theorists are running with. The Julez and Tommie situation escalates into its own full-blown scandal. Maybe Solange responds publicly. Maybe Beyonce's team puts out a statement. Maybe Tommie Lee, being the reality TV veteran she is, turns this into a storyline for her next project. If that happens, the distraction becomes its own fire that needs to be put out. The thing you lit to draw attention away from one problem becomes a second problem. And here's the wild card nobody's talking about enough: Tamar Braxton. Because according to what people online are saying, Tamar has history with Tommie Lee. The rumor is that Tommie was involved in the breakup of Tamar's previous relationship, the one fans jokingly refer to as her Colonel Sanders era. If Tamar decides to weigh in, if she posts something on social media, if she hops on Instagram Live with receipts, this entire situation could explode into a multi-franchise crossover event that nobody is prepared for. The pieces are all on the board. Julez, Tommie, Mama Tina, the health department, the Knowles PR machine, Tamar potentially lurking in the shadows, and an internet audience that is absolutely hungry for the next chapter. this is far from over. Stay locked in because this story is evolving by the hour. Every time I refresh my timeline, there's a new clip, a new reaction, a new piece of the puzzle falling into place. So drop your thoughts in the comments. I need to hear from y'all. Do you think the Julez and Tommie situation is genuine, or do you think it's a calculated distraction from the Mama Tina Gumbo scandal? And do you think we've heard the last of the health violations, or is there more coming that we don't know about yet? I want the real opinions, no sugarcoating. Tell me what you think is actually going on in the House of Knowles right now. Make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not already part of the family, and for the love of everything, turn on those notifications, because the way this story is moving, I might have an update before the day is out, and you do not want to miss it. I appreciate every single one of you for rocking with me, for real. This community is why I do this. Y'all are the reason we can break these stories down together instead of just accepting whatever narrative gets handed to us. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, stay informed, and remember, when the distraction is louder than the problem, that's how you know the problem is real. Peace.